Hello, I wanted to do a quick reflection of my original lesson. The first question for that is, how successful were you at addressing all learners in your classroom? I had my class put into a flexible small group, and I feel like this was really beneficial for them. So they were in a small group setting for this. Their goal was to count to 10 using manipulatives. The standards they were using were K.N.R.1, which is to demonstrate and explain the relationship between numbers and quantities up to 20, connect counting to cardinality, which is the last number counted represents the total quantity in a set. I modified this to meet the needs of all the learners in my class. I modified it to 10 because that's what we'd been working on in small group, is them counting to 10. So I do think I was successful at addressing all the learners in my class because I used a flexible small group and because I modified the standard. Instead of counting up to a quantity of 20, it was only a quantity of 10. And then the other question is, what strategies worked and did not work within the lesson and your instructional time? So that day during my lesson, I actually had to use a different classroom than I normally use. So I was a little flustered, and I feel like planning on my part could have gone a lot better. The strategies that did work, again, would be flexible grouping. I had that small group of students who were working on similar goals in class, and I grouped them that way. The other thing that worked well was modifying that standard, my goal, to 10, a quantity of 10 instead of 20. I felt like that strategy really worked well for my students. It says, how did your strategies for integration work within this lesson? What changes would you make to ensure multiple content areas were covered more easily? So I quickly found another kindergarten standard, and the standard that I would add to this would be a science standard to integrate science into this. And that standard is SKP1, which is to obtain and evaluate and communicate information to describe objects in terms of the materials they're made of and their physical attributes. So for this, I would have, and I had my students kind of in the previous lesson, but I didn't name this standard. I had my students sort the manipulatives they were using by color. And the manipulatives they were using to count to 10 were Skittles. So, a standard that I could integrate would be the sorting of those Skittles by color, and that would integrate science into the content. That is all for my reflection of my original lesson.